Hey Magical Starlight! Today we're going to kind of dive into some Bliss Ascension codes. So I am Samantha Blossom. I've been working in energy healing for over 15 years now, seeing lots of pretty cool miracles, whether it's money miracles or body miracles. Hi Ellie! Yay, welcome! Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Bliss Ascension codes and just some things that you can already do now. This is all in prep for my beautiful masterclass coming up tomorrow at 2:22 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you can't catch the live, you can always catch the replay, and it's going to be very, very extraordinary. I feel like it's going to be amazing, so I'm super excited for it. So let's start with why is bliss so important. So bliss is a frequency, and oftentimes we've been conditioned to reward ourselves later. Oh, once I do this or once I achieve this, then I will be able to reward myself. But that's just not how the universe works. Hi Erin, yay! So that's just not how the universe works. So if we want to ascend and expand and move into a brand new universe, then we have to go into new depths, new feelings of bliss, which for some of us, we have past life coding, and actually it's really hot in here, so I'm going to turn on the air conditioner. It's going to make a sound, but I was like, talk about bliss. Okay. So, for some of us, there are these tiny little crunchy feelings that are kind of like hard to feel. It's in your nervous system, it's in the brain waves, and so when we can be sort of like a detective, then we can create more space for bliss. So if we don't know that the programming is there, and if we're not willing to look at it and we don't have the desire to clear it out, then that programming is basically subconsciously always there. You're like, ooh, I'm about to reach my next peak level. What's this thing coming up? Ooh, like I'm going into love and like the relationship's getting deeper, but now it feels too scary and I'm scared to open up. Or I'm about to reach my next level income, or maybe you're in those patterns where, oh, you make a lot, but then you spend a lot, right? So there's all these tiny little secret bliss stealers, secret little programs that kind of, you're like, ooh, I'm at this level of bliss, but then it kind of like gets taken away. Like, what is that, right? What are those tiny little programs? So if you think about your psyche as like your closet, you want to think about like, how do I let go of the programming that's not serving me anymore so that I can create more space for bliss to occur? Because bliss isn't something that we chase, not really. Not if it's authentic, joyful bliss. It's not something you force yourself to feel or you chase. It's really like you create the space for it, and it's a natural connection emerging with your spirit and your body, and you're like, oh, I can't help it, I just feel so much bliss. It's just bubbling out of me and I don't know why. It's just like, woo! So how do we create space for that? How do we create space for that in our environment? How do we create space for that in our psyche, in our emotions, in our physical body, mental body, emotional body, and spiritual body, right? So those are going to be some of the topics we're going to dive deeper into tomorrow. And also in the Oracle codes, we go into this very, very in-depth, because it's really about the tiny moments all throughout the day that sparkle up your energy. The tiny little moments of, oh, where am I disconnecting from spirit now? Oh, I didn't even notice I was doing that. Oh, I didn't realize like I was creating an extra struggle for myself here, but actually there's all these other solutions, and I can shift my perspective just like a little tiny bit and a whole new door will open up, right? That happens so often. I have so many clients that are like, I'm thinking about things like this and this isn't working, and then we just like, we talk about it in one new way and boom, this portal opens, right? So what are some of the things that we can dive into in our own psyche? Well, some of the things are, if we think about like ancestral programs, we get to ask ourselves like, is this my own thought, or is this somebody else's thought? And the moment that it kind of comes up, the moment that you're like, wow, I'm trying to feel really good here and I feel like I can't and I don't know why, I'm trying to feel all this bliss, and then I did, and then suddenly it's gone, you can kind of go into your own psyche and ask, where did this program come from? Is it from this lifetime? Is it from another lifetime? Is it from an ancestor? And ask the universe, like, how can I release this and let this go? I'm like, hey Bob, welcome. So excited to have you here. So, and it really is just like, it's a willingness to want to heal your DNA programming, right? So this is the thing, it's like, how do we dismantle this reward system program? Because in school, we're like, oh, if you do this, and you get a good grade, then you reward yourself. If you win this game, then you reward yourself. If you were a good girl, or if you were a good boy, then you get rewarded, right? So that really kind of fucks up our internal chemistry. Like, it really kind of messes it up, because then we're always like working super hard, and then we get the joy after, right? But that's like not the principles of the universe. The principles of the universe have these joy waves, and all throughout the day we get to catch a joy wave, ride it, and hold it more. I don't know if any of you have surfed. I honestly haven't surfed, but Spirit showed me this. It's like, if you're surfing, it actually takes a lot of energy to surf, and it takes a lot of energy to like be in that space, to hold on to the surfboard, to like stay in there. So then you ride the wave, because feeling like holding the bliss feeling, like there's actually like there's both an energy and there's both an activation and a surrendering that gets to happen like at the same time for that. So there's like there's an energetic workout that gets to happen, and there's a peeling away, and there's a releasing, and we're gonna go into a lot of like the deeper tools around this tomorrow. So we get to kind of go through and clean out, releasing the tiniest little thoughts, like, where's the lack coming from? Where's the not enough? Because at the end of the day, like, actually, all of your clients are you. All of the money that comes into your universe is you. All of the bliss, all of the love, all of the sex, all of those things, like, you're almost like giving you are the one giving yourself permission to have those things. And that's why, like, self-love is so key. And because when you're the one giving yourself immense self-love, then you open up the doors to receive, right? Because if some part of you is, we look at that past programming, secretly punishing yourself. Oh, I didn't do this, my house isn't clean, this isn't whatever, that's why I don't deserve this, right? Your brain's kind of like this computer system, and you get to be the detective to see what's the tiny little coding that I've been inserting into my mind. Oh, when did I tell myself that that's a story of this happened? That means I don't get to feel good. And if I don't get to feel good, that means the universe is hearing the signal, send me stuff that doesn't feel good. So you're accidentally sending these signals of, send me stuff that doesn't feel good, and then you get the feedback loop. The universe is feeding back to you the loop that you've been sending out. You're like, oh gosh, like, this is what I've been sending out, and now I'm getting this mirrored back to me. So when reality shows up, then you get to see, like, oh, there's still a little bit of work for me to do here. Because what if you're one of those people that you're like, ooh, I can make $50,000 months, but I also spend $40,000, or I also spend $60,000. You know, then you get to see, like, oh, am I like not letting myself hold on to money? Do I not feel safe with holding it? Do I not feel safe with allowing myself to like savor joy, feel that bliss and savor joy? So those are the things you get to kind of practice and embody. When are you brushing off a compliment, or just like you're just not allowing yourself to have like the full feeling of it for no reason at all, the full blissful feeling of it for no reason at all? And the universe will kind of keep teaching you these things because it wants you to fully understand that you are a divine magical being in a physical body, and as a divine magical being, you just get to be loved, and you always will just get to be loved. And that's kind of the work everywhere. The work everywhere is when do you fully accept, surrender to, and receive that it's enough. Like this, everything that you've done, it's good. And you have permission to get excited, take the action that you want to, and all those things are going to be good. So then we get to also like examine, when do we like, oh, I sent a text or I said something and I expressed something, oh, maybe they didn't understand it or it didn't come out well. Those are tiny little feelings of non-self-love, which is going to take away from the bliss, right? But if you keep, even if you sent the text out and you or the message out or the email, whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure how I feel, do the inner work and be like, what if it was the best message ever? What if there was so much light in that message that I sent? What if it was amazing? And what if the person received it perfectly? Then you're practicing that next level of self-love, because you're not sending something out. I'm just using that as an example, right? You're not making a decision and then punishing yourself for it. Whether it's like a text you write or like something you bought and then you're like, oh gosh, why did I buy that? Why did I spend money on this? Do you see where there's this like little tiny self-punishment happening? Those are the things that we get to clean up. And we're gonna dive in really deep tomorrow. It's gonna be a 90-minute class. We're gonna do DNA activations. We're gonna like go through ancestral programming. We're gonna do a lot of things to kind of clear that out. Okay. So the next level to that is really just like, now you get to play with embodying new feelings. Like, what are the new feelings that feel really good? And sometimes you get to be really, really creative with this, right? The creativity gets to be like, ooh, of course the universe has always supported me. Or, you know, maybe you're expanding something where, for instance, like, oh, like maybe, so I knew this healer that she's like, I always get gifts. Like, I always get gifts. I also had another one that was like, people always give me fairies. People always send me fairies. So her entire office was filled with fairies. And this other woman who always was like, yeah, people love giving me gifts. They just love giving me gifts. So that's the mantra that she's sending out. And because her brainwaves are sending that out, then that is emitted out to the universe, and the universe reflects that back. So she's like always getting gifts. Like, it just always kind of happens for her, right? So what can you program for yourself of like, ooh, like these are the things that bring me joy, right? Maybe something that brings you joy is, ooh, like delicious dinners always bring me joy, or home cooked meals, somebody else cooking me meals. Or maybe it's like, ooh, I love goddess gatherings, or I love men's circles. Like, what is it that you love? And then you get to kind of emit that frequency of like, man, that's happening for me. That's always on its way. And really focusing your thoughts there and really kind of disengaging and dismantling anytime your thoughts are going towards the things that you don't want. Really being like, gosh, I see that, but I'm not going to allow my neural pathway to keep going there. I'm ready to shift through. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes that piece is like so lingering there that you can't. Don't ignore that. That's a signal. That's the universe. That's your brain telling you there's a message there. There's something to be looked at and seen. You're missing a piece. There's something that you didn't learn here. That's why that keeps looping. So you want to be able to create space. Again, create space for that. Like, what is it that your body is trying to tell you with that messaging, right? What is that experience actually trying to show you? And sometimes it's not what we expect. And this is where I think like a healer or a coach is really helpful in supporting you seeing that. But you can also, of course, map it out, write everything out. Just put all the pieces put everything on a piece of paper and just kind of sort through. Then what do you do when that keeps happening, right? Exactly. So that's the piece, right? It's like you write it all out and you kind of like, you sit with it and you're like, universe, I want to see this in a new way. What am I not seeing? Teach me, show me, guide me. Journaling, yes, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's journaling. Sometimes it's having a conversation with somebody. The other day that happened for me. So I just went through a breakup, and actually we cleaned it up pretty quickly. But and then anyways, so there was this childhood thing that was like coming up for me, and I was like, what is that? What's this thing making me feel so sad? Why can't I access my own bliss, right? And then as I'm diving in, I was like, oh, this is like what was going on, right? This is what was like happening. I was seeing the childhood version of me. I could have had everything that I wanted when I was younger, but my mindset didn't let me. And that was really, really disappointing to me. That was super disappointing to me that I realized like, oh my gosh, like there were people in my like, I remember there were guys that would tell me things like, yeah, like, I tried to ask you out, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought you were making fun of me. I thought you were just like, I thought you asked me out because you were like joking and like actually putting me down. And they're like, no, like, it took me a lot of courage to ask you. And this is like, you know, 10 years later or whatever. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, like, my own mindset, someone bringing something really great to me, but because I had such a negative, like, self-talk, and like I was super shy, and like, you know, I felt like I had acne on my face, and maybe not then, maybe not during that time, but I just had really low self-esteem, right? Okay, wow, me in the 3rd grade just popped up. Wow, yeah, Lane, go into that, dive into it. I had several times where guys had asked me out, and I had totally brushed. I thought it was a joke. I thought they were kidding, and I also thought they were like making fun of me and being mean. And that also happened in high school. Like, someone during a dance was like, wow, you look really pretty, and I was like, F you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, wow, that was me like blocking love from the universe, right? So that was like this repetitive pattern that was like happening. So how are we on a micro level maybe secretly accidentally doing that still, right? Because of course so many of us have done so much of the work, right? And that's why I wanted to create this class for tomorrow, because there's still these like tiny little crunchy programming things, and sometimes it's so, I'm like, hi Alexandra, yay, welcome, so excited you're here, girl, woo. So yeah, so we were just talking about, like, so sometimes it's these like, so the past life piece is where I think tomorrow is really gonna support a lot of you guys, because I think that's the hard part to see on your own, right? The past life programming, the ancestral programming, there's so much that you can journal out and get to on your own, but I just like, Spirit's like, hey, that's my gift. I can go in and see things for you guys and support you guys, and it doesn't mean I'm doing it for you, I'm doing it with you, I'm journeying with you, right? But I can just see it so much faster. Sometimes it might take you guys 10 years to get there, and I can just be like, let's do it in this 90-minute class. I actually just had one of my friends come to see me, and he's been on a lot of meds, and in 3 days his body is just like totally healing. His parents were like, holy cow, what happened? You look like a totally different person. And that's because when we move energy, when we dismantle, like literally in your DNA coding, it's holding on to these past life stories. It's like you're like, gosh, I'm meditating, I'm journaling, I'm trying to move this out. Like, why is this not moving? Why is this not budging? And sometimes it's just like something in a past life contract or a program that just needs to be seen, and it gets to be dismantled, right? And like, I'm like, I don't know, but this came up. So maybe some of you guys are familiar with this, but sometimes there's actually even family curses, and those are very hard to clean up on your own. Like, really, you need an external observer for that. But we're gonna kind of like dive so deep into that tomorrow, and just like going through like what's in the nervous system, what's in the brain, because your brain is communicating with all the other brains. Your aura is communicating with all the other auras. Your nervous system is communicating with all the other nervous systems. So when we can dismantle the tiny little pieces of past life violence and abuse, the tiny little soundtracks that are still running, like the micro grief that's like hidden behind your organs and your endocrines, like when we can go through and clean those pieces out, then you're vibrating at another level of bliss. And you won't even know that you can feel that level of bliss, because you probably wouldn't have known that you were carrying it for so long, right? I have a lot of clients that are like, whoa, I didn't know how good I could feel until they've gone through like a series of sessions, and then they're like, whoa, this is so next level. Like, I remember a client that said, you know, every time I asked her about her menstrual cycle, like her period, I was like, hey, like, do you have any problems with that? She's like, oh, no. But then like once we worked together for a couple of months, she was like, oh my gosh, I did feel really low during my period before, and I would just crash and be moody, and now I feel so much energy during my period. I feel so good. That's the thing, right? We don't even know the level of bliss that we're not allowing ourselves to feel until we know. And that was something for me too. Like I used to have just body aches all over I would have headaches, I had stomach pain, I had like acne all over like my face, chest, my back. And I literally thought that being alive was painful. I really thought that, oh, everybody experiences pain and it's always going to be like this. I just thought that that was going to be like the rest of my life, and I thought it was normal. And I remember being like, oh, I definitely don't want to have kids because I don't want them to feel this, right? But now, after I've done so much like decluttering and delayering, I'm like, whoa, I feel bliss all the time, even when things aren't externally like exactly working out. And even if I'm like going into grief and like peeling away some like old something, I still feel bliss. I'm still like, you know what, I'm so excited that I have the tools to go in and clean this out. Or I'm so excited that my body is telling me it's sad right now and I'm giving myself space to like feel sad. Like in the background, I still feel this like bliss sparkle while I'm like dismantling and clearing it out. Like I'm not afraid of my emotions, right? I'm not afraid of like, ooh, this hard thing's coming up. I'm like, okay, this hard thing's coming up. Let's move through it and let's feel bliss through it, right? I'm like, hi Liz, yay, welcome. So that's kind of like, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. It's like when we want to step, we're in this process of ascension. We have an old paradigm that's been deeply embedded in us. This is like a faulty program that is embedded into our brains, and it's reinforced over and over again. And we have to say, no, that's not how I'm going to operate anymore. I'm not going to force myself to get tense in my shoulders and tight in my body in order to make money or in order to survive. Like, that's just not how I'm going to operate anymore. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do the inner work. How can I ascend? How can I liberate myself? How can I actualize? How can I do the self-actualization work? Because it's not just for this lifetime, right? The work that you do is going to carry into your next life, right? And that's the beauty of it, is like, it doesn't just carry into your next life, it goes 7 generations back and forward. In this moment, past, present, and future is all happening at the same time. So when you do the inner work, when you take time to like clean up your past stories, like even from this lifetime, that past version of you is yourself right now. And one of my favorite healers, Jen Velmer, find her on Instagram. We were just talking about this. We were like, you know, when we go back to look at our timeline and clean things up from our childhood, it's like a spirit guide going back. Like when we think like a spirit guide's coming forward to like support us, sometimes it's our future self coming in to support us. That's like huge, right? So that's the power that you get to access right now. And we're gonna like go into like the nitty-gritty details tomorrow, 2:22 p.m. If you can't make it live, like it's totally fine. You can also message me everything that you want to work on, and all the intentions will be poured in. It's gonna be, you'll have lifetime access and the replay. And then if you want to dive super, super deep, the Oracle codes, we start Sunday during the Lion's Gate, which is going to be a super abundance portal. So I'm so excited. I've had so many guides literally like just pouring information in over the last 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, got it. So I'm super excited about all those things. But so let's go back, right? A lot of us talk about self-love, but it's like, what does that mean on like the deepest level? Like what is self-love, right? And that is an exploration. That is not something that you can do in the mental realm. It's your body. This is the power of the present moment, because there's a dance, a conversation that's happening between the universe and you at all times throughout the day. The universe is not designed to, hey, let me structure this and let me have this savings and let me, I mean, of course those things are involved as well. But what I mean is, you're not going to be able to plan your joy. You're not going to be able to like mentally decide, my joy is going to look like this today, because that's just like not how it works. The universe is like, I'm going to give you these pulses. I'm going to give you these tiny little signs all throughout the day. I'm going to give you this feeling. And your success isn't going to be logical. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be vibrational. And when you can allow yourself to do that, you might do things in a very what you think is a non-logical way. For instance, like I played with it this morning. Because I was like, all right, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to feel into my body, and I'm literally just going to feel into each moment of doing this. And I would do the dishes. Oh, I only did half the dishes, done. Now I'm going to vacuum this, done. And now I'm going to, but what I noticed was as I did that, I actually became more efficient, because it would guide me into the laundry room, and then I would, oh, the laundry's done, I could put another load in, and then I'd walk into another space and do something else. But really, like, it sped up my time so much, and then I like wasn't bored cleaning. I was just like in the moment, and building up joy, and then boom, one of my highest end clients reaches out, boom, right? They're like ready to book something for next week, and I'm like, okay, great. And then all of a sudden I found $630 in my Google Pay that was supposed to, I mean, it doesn't make any sense why it's there. But it apparently has been there for several years. It was just like, hey, this money has been in here for too long, you need to move it. And I'm like, what money? So when you tap into your vibration, when you keep turning on your vibration, that's why your aura is your greatest asset. Your frequency is your greatest asset. Your capacity and ability to communicate with your spirit and to communicate with the needs of your community, the desires of your community, and your inner desires, like that's like so key. That's like super, super key. So if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, this really excited me, this made me feel so good, then I super encourage you to come to class tomorrow. It's gonna be so awesome. And you know, the thing is, when we peel away some of these layers, sometimes it's gonna be instantaneous, but sometimes it's gonna take a little bit of time to unravel. I have 2 clients. Love your message, girl. Keep shining bright. Thanks, Elizabeth. Yay! I've had a couple clients, actually, like I've had several clients where we worked together, and maybe it was like a year later, and then everything that we talked about, it's like all happening, right? Everything's happening. It took a year, but it was like they planted the seeds, and then boom, and it was just like it just organically happened, right? So that's the thing. It's like when you take the time to do the inner work, to turn on your bliss chemistry, turn on your DNA, things get to shift and change. Someone in the Oracle codes last time, she was like, wow, you said this one thing, and because of that one thing, my business made an extra $450,000, right? And there was another student that was in Oracle codes. He made his like first like $16,000 sale, right? And those little things, it really is just like turning on your bliss chemistry, listening to the aura, opening, and then that next level expansion gets to come through. Yay, awesome. Well, sending you guys so much love, and if you guys want the link, it's in my bio, or you can feel free to message me. If you have any questions about the Bliss Chemistry Masterclass tomorrow or the Oracle codes, please let me know. I would love to support you. This is going to be an extraordinary month, August is, and if you decide to like ride the waves, this is going to be so cool. So when you think about the Lionsgate, it's like it's when the star Sirius is actually like aligned with Earth, and so those star beings are really working with us right now. And it really like it opens up these portals. It's almost like it supercharges your energy field. And to me, the Oracle codes is like it's prepping your light body, it's prepping your energy field so that you can actually receive all the downloads that the cosmos is going to be showering over you. So anyways, so if you have any other questions, let me know. Loving you so much. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Always loving you, and yay, have the best, most magical day. Tomorrow, 9 o'clock, I'm also going to be on Women Who Warrior, so if you guys want to check that out, feel free. Okay, so much love. Ciao, babes.